right-wing blogger Matt Lewis.
Matt Lewis.
It's the great Matt Lewis.
The future of America, with witchcraft making jobs left and right, we can all go join the coven?
I love how I think that I never joined a coven has become the new I didn't inhale, actually. But look, hey, let's, I've been critical of Christine O'Donnell. It's clearly a very interesting campaign. But let's also, be fair here. Her opponent, Chris Coons in Delaware, wrote a piece in college saying that he was a, quote, bearded Marxist. So I'm not sure which I would prefer, somebody who dabbled in witchcraft or someone who dabbled in Marxism.
But I guess, what's the message from these conservative activists, the Tea Party activists, to the leadership here in Washington?
I think the message is that Republicans are actually on probation. I think it's very clear that the Republican Party, that voters didn't vote for the Republican Party. They voted against the Obama agenda. And I'm actually glad to hear. Well, look, I think that as an American, I would always encourage our citizens to be involved. And if you don't like what's happening, call your senator, call your congressman. But having said that, elections have consequences, and anybody who doesn't like what's happening today, the only way to change it is at the ballot box. At this point, it appears Democrats are poised to pass something. They believe that regardless of what public opinion says.
In other words, you objected to his presence. Let me turn to Matt Lewis. By having Sarah Palin as another featured speaker, didn't Beck give his critics some ammunition that sees a bunch of conservative Republicans on this spot that is freighted with so much because of the speech?
Well, first, let me just respond to what Bill said quickly, to say that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. might have thought differently about invoking God. I think that it is consistent and appropriate to do so at the Lincoln Memorial. But you're right. I think symbolically having Sarah Palin there, although I think everything she said was entirely appropriate and classy, it does open the door for those who want to say that he invoked politics into it.
I think that maybe they are making matters worse, actually. But look, I think there's another analogy between McCain and Obama that's interesting to look at. If you look at McCain in 2000, he was this maverick. The press loved him. He was very popular. Same thing with Obama in 2008. I think this shows you how fickle the American public and the media are. Take these guys who were rock stars. A couple years later, the magic is gone.
Mike, you're nodding your head.
Yeah, no, it's a great point.
All right, fair enough.
Paul.com. Matt Lewis, let's start with you. If Newt Gingrich is right when he says that it's intellectual nonsense for anybody to say, I'm not a citizen of the world, when Ronald Reagan said in June 1982, I speak today as both a citizen of the United States and of the world, was Ronald Reagan engaging in intellectual nonsense?
Thanks for the easy question, David. Look, I think the context is what counts here. Ronald Reagan, by the time he said that, had spent 50 years in public life talking about American exceptionalism, talking about America being a shining city on a hill. Barack Obama has no such background or credibility on this issue. And I would say the speech last year in Berlin is only part of it.
Barack Obama spend part of his youth overseas? Doesn't he speak a couple languages? Hasn't he been well-traveled last couple of years? Didn't he just give this big speech in Cairo that the Middle East seemed to like?
But I think that's exactly the problem. It's not just the Berlin speech, but in Cairo he said, any world order that elevates one nation over another will fall flat. I think that goes against the idea of American exceptionalism.